Hey friends, this is Rachel Bakark, and this is episode 13 of the Soul CEO podcast, where we are helping network marketers and entrepreneurs build a profitable business without losing their family, their friends, or their soul. Wednesdays, to me, it's all about leadership. I'm recording this on a Wednesday because it is my two masterminds. First, my mastermind with Eric Worre, and this is such a privilege to be in. I'm so grateful. So going on my second year. And these are some of the top, really top leaders inside of the direct selling space. High achievers, many of them doing millions of dollars a month in revenue inside of their organization, leading large organizations globally. And it's very much hearing from Eric Worre, who's Mr. Go Pro himself, Mr. Network Marketing, but also to kind of share tactics and tips and open up and kind of have a safe place. And so I get to kind of pour into myself. And then immediately after, we have one of my favorite calls of the week, which is called Legends. And this is a six-figure factory for all of my up-and-coming leaders. We've got about 60 people or so in that are making a strong, usually full-time income at that point, but they're looking to kind of take it to that next level. And so Wednesday's awesome, but the whole constant conversation is leadership. And so today for Legends, we really dove into one of my favorite books, and it's by John C Maxwell. It's called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Now, if you've listened to this podcast since the beginning, I have made reference to John because he was one of the mentors, number one, that I still promote, push to, enthusiastically say, yes, you got to follow him, take all of his books, his content. He changed my life in 2014 to 15 when I had 1 year of mentorship with him. And so I want to dive into just one little part of this training that we gave the Legends today, because I think it's really going to help you raise your idea of okay, I want to be a leader. I'm not so great at leading. How do I grow? Are you wondering that? How do I get better? I'm going to give you guys 5 things to really focus on and to really assess what you can be doing every single day. These are things to do every single day to improve your leadership. Because the truth is, your leadership is determined by your effectiveness. And so we have to raise your lid. And that comes from the first law of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, which is the law of the lid. Now, if you're brand new to this podcast, I would ask you to smash that subscribe button, leave a 5-star rating, and if you can, leave a review. I know you don't have to, but I really appreciate it. And I've been having some Instagram debacles. I'm not going to get into it too depth here, but if you have been following me on Instagram, you've kind of seen, or maybe have heard, maybe you've been watching some of the posts. I've kind of discussed some of the censorship things that have been happening. And so I was trying my best to make a new account. Instagram didn't like that, and they slammed that one down. They terminated that. So I am back at Soul CEO, which is a little frustrating, but I'm praying, guys. If you want to join me in prayer and believe that the censorship is just going to be taken off, it is so, it's challenging to have nearly 28,000 followers and friends, and they can't see any of my content that I post. That's why I tried to start a new one. So, but hopefully that's just temporary. God's in control. But connect with me there. And what I love this vehicle. What I'm digging the most is when you guys message me. I love it. If you guys are listening and you're taking notes and you get an aha, or you have a question, or if there's something you want to converse on, message me. I love it. I really appreciate it. I know there's going to be a time where it's going to be so many, but right now it's you, me, and the fence post. No, let's chat. If there's anything that I can serve you with. Okay. Grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. Do not trust your memory. Do not trust your memory. Guys, I'll tell you, within an hour of this podcast, you're going to forget half of it. I promise you. So have a notebook. And this goes for all things learning. I have probably 2 or 3 dozen journals over the last decade that I've filled up over the years, going to events, listening to speakers, and it's full of nuggets, and there's full of little things that you can grab. In fact, this morning, I was doing recording a podcast with Fraser Brooks. I'm so excited to post that. That'll be airing in February. So stay tuned for that in like a couple weeks. And so we did one for this podcast, one episode for here, and then one episode on his. And it was funny because while we're talking, I'm literally scrolling through one of my notebooks trying to grab something that somebody told me about customer acquisition. And so your journals, your notebooks, they are literally uncashed checks. So take notes and be a good student. All right. The law of the lid. This is such a visual explanation. Like you almost need a diagram. And in the book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, there is a diagram to explain. And if you've heard the phrase that everything rises and falls on leadership, that's what I mean by that is everything rises and falls on leadership. And it is imperative to become and to continue to grow your leadership ability and capabilities because people first buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. And John teaches this so well in the book. So I'm not going to, I'm not taking any of his content here, but one of the blessings of working with him is when he mentored me and a few others, he required us to run what we called a reproduction group or a table. We had our own kind of leadership table, like Legends, like my Zoom on Wednesday. And he demanded that we reteach his content. And I love the fact that it showed such an abundant mindset. It wasn't like, he's holding, this is my stuff, these are my goodies, and don't you dare share them. He was like, hey, listen, the only thing I ask is the first time you say it, you give me credit. You say, John always told me about the law of the lid. And then the second time you say, a wise man once said. And then by the third time you can say, I've always said. So I give John so much credit. And just as like a little note, nothing under the sun is new. I mean, like when we talk about like philosophy, talking about principles and foundational things, like nothing's new. It can be recycled or repurposed, but if it's new, it isn't true. And if it's true, it isn't new. And so I will tell you guys, I will reference a lot of, I've learned all this stuff, right? I'm a student. So nothing is really from me. Even if it was inspired and I came up with some kind of cool quote, chances are I was like kind of modeled after what somebody said at one point. So I do my best to reference. I want to pay homage. But I also want you guys to know that I'm sharing content. If I do share content, it's usually with like either permission or with experience, or I'm putting my own flair on it. And that's just normal, guys. And if you have something that I say and you want to share it, guys, share it. People ask me all the time, can I rip off, reps in my company? Can I use your posts that you just made about the products? I'm like, yeah, you don't even have to ask me. Gosh, like scarcity mindset. It's 2021. Like, get over it. You didn't come up with anything new. Like, it's been done before. All right, let's dive in. What an intro. Hello. It is hump day. All right. How to raise your lid. So the lid concept, imagine a scale vertically, like my hands. One hand by my waist and one hand by my head. And at the hand by my waist, that's like a leadership level of 1. The hand by my head, it's a leadership level of 10. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have the different levels of leadership. What do those levels represent? It represents your effectiveness. Like, how effective are you? And let's say you're smack dab in the middle. You're a 5. If you're a 5 as a lid, then your leadership, your business, your organization, your network, your paycheck, your volume, it will always bump up against your lid, which is a 5. And if you're a 5 on the leadership lid, you're never going to attract 6s or 7s or 8s or not. You meet a 9 and you're a leadership 5, they're going to look at you like Mr. Magoo. You're not going to attract them into your business. And so the way, and even inside your organization, the people that you're leading, that you're equipping, they can never outgrow where your leadership is. Like if you're leading them, right? So the solution is to raise your lid. But how do we do that? Like people have come to me and say, okay, but how do I become a good leader? And there's these 5 rules of leadership. It's like the daily five things that you can do to raise your lid. This comes from John himself. So I want to share with you in some of my input on this. So the first one is leading yourself. Now, what do I mean by leading yourself? I mean, you lead yourself. I know it's very, very, very wise and very profound. Again, I just cannot wait to continue to disappoint you on this podcast. But leading yourself is very simple. Like you must lead yourself before you can lead others. This is the law of example and leading by example. And in network marketing, we constantly talk if a leader has moral authority. Moral authority is it's the highest form of influence. And you can have influence on a lot of different things. Your rank, your title, your bank account, who you hang out with, if you're put on stage, put on a Zoom, put on a call, right? But the highest form of influence is moral authority. It's leading by example. It's when your walk matches your talk. And your walk talks and your talk talks, but your walk talks louder than your talk talks. Got that? You have to lead yourself before you can lead others. And leadership in great part is visual. So as much as we want to be so focused on what we're telling our team what to do, they won't model what we say and what we teach. They model what they visualize, what they see, what they emulate what you actually show them. So we have to lead ourselves. So it's really having that checkup from the neck up. Like if I want my teamies to do XYZ, am I doing it? If I want them to recruit, if I want them to acquire customers, if I want them to be on the call, if I want them to register for the event, if I want them to be in personal development, if I want them using the products every single day, using all of the products, replacing every SKU in your house with those products. One of the things when I got married, Tony and I moved in together and he, just had normal, guy hair care and skin care and whatever. And there's a few times right after we got married that, and I had my company's products, right, in my shower, my bath and all that. And all of a sudden I go into the shower and there's like randomly face wash in there. Or randomly, and we sell, body care or I should say, skin care and hair care and all that. Or like shampoo that he must have ordered on like Amazon. And I'm like, and I'm sweet. I'm like, hey, babe, can we not buy that anymore? Like, I would be embarrassed if somebody came to my house and I don't think why they'd go in my master bedroom or in my master bathroom or in my master bathroom shower. I'm like, wow, that's like invasive. But if they did, I would be embarrassed. I'm like, no, we got to be a product of the product. So you have to lead yourself first before you can lead anybody else. And it's important that you don't have delusion here. We can think that we're this exceptional leader, but are you leading yourself in your emotions, in your expectations, in your enthusiasm, in your energy, in your belief? It's important to lead yourself before you can lead anybody else. The second way to grow in your leadership and raise your lid every day, these are 5 things you do every day, not sometimes, not some days, every day, is you got to add value to people. Right? John taught me that you need one reason. People need one reason to follow you, but they need many reasons to keep following you. So when you are a perpetual student, when you're constantly adding value, it's not about perfection. It's not about never making a mistake. It's not about having all the answers right now. It's not about becoming a 7 or 8 figure gajillionaire. You don't need that for people to follow you. But if you add value, number one, you're going to raise your lid. But if you add value to people, oh my gosh, your effectiveness as a leader, they trust you. If you help them, they'll help you. Especially if you love them, they'll move mountains for you. So you got to add value. Number 2, you got to add value to people. But how do we do that? I want to do a little caveat here, a little squirrel moment. We do it 3 ways. You add value to people by, number 1, valuing people. And I told my legends, I gave them a visual example. I said, hey, think about a possession that you have that you absolutely value, that you love. And the possession could be a car, it could be your house, it could be a snowmobile, it could be a toy, it could be a piece of jewelry. I mean, like, think about something that you have that you value. For a lot of women, maybe it's a designer handbag. I have a nice handbag. I actually have 4. I've never bought myself a designer, like a really designer bag. These 4 were gifts, but I'll tell you that I treat them a little bit nicer than like the handbag I got at TJ Maxx, because it's a $2,000 handbag, right? It was a gift. And because it has value, right? So I value it more. And so when you value something, you add value to it. Some of my teamies, they just built this beautiful home like 2 years ago. And I was asking them, like, you love that home, right? Yeah, they're like, yeah, I love it. And if like you value your home, like, you're not letting dust bunnies pile up. You're not letting the toilets get all gunked up. You're wiping off the mirror so there's not all this toothpaste splattering on it. You're not like, you're making sure that when something explodes in the microwave that you clean it up. You're not letting dishes pile up after week after week after week without doing them. Like, if a sprinkler busts in the backyard or a pipe bursts in the basement, like, you fix it right away. Why? Because you value the property. And so with people, you've got to value people. Write this down. You cannot lead people you do not love. Now, I'm not talking about a passionate love. I'm not talking about an intimate love. I'm talking about seeing them and knowing them as a child of God and made in His image that has unique aspirations and desperations and dreams and pain points, goals and visions and a purpose for their life. And when you start to work on some of those possibly past issues that you have with people through forgiveness, through healing, you can start to see people for who they are. Now, it doesn't mean that people won't let you down, but as you mature and you're going to see that, you know what? I don't take it personally when this person has like an outburst. I don't, cling to their approval or disapproval. I had a caustic moment with a leader this week. She sent a pretty scathing message, and it just was like, it was snippy, it was snarky, it was a zing. And in that one moment, I had this instant kind of fallback to Rachel, little Rachel, inner Rachel, little child Rachel, but also like immature Rachel. And like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, that hurt, like, oh, ow. And I didn't want to retaliate. I almost wanted to retreat. And I thought for a moment, it just was like for a second, guys, like 2 seconds at most. And then I was like, you know what? This is why a lot of people don't put themselves out there, because some people are very painful. But I gave it a minute and I just sent her a nice message back. And she sent another run back. And then I sent her another message back. And then it went back and forth a lot. And we resolved it. It's fine. But I value her and I value people. And in fact, I value people more than I value being right. And more than I value them, dominating them and making sure that my opinion is heard. Well, if I force my opinion and I, correct them or I'm rude, okay, great. So I'm right, but I've lost connection and I've lost trust. So is the value in building up my ego and being right, or is my value in people? You have to value people in order to add value to them. If they mean nothing to you, you'll just cast them aside. You'll bulldoze them, or you won't pour into them. The second part of adding value to people, helping them, is knowing and relating to what they value. I had a mentoring call with one of my top leaders in the UK this week, and we were discussing, this is the first time we've ever had like a really in-depth conversation. So we did a 40-minute mentoring call, and the first half of the call was all about getting to know her, how she was doing, what are her goals, what are her values. I found out she loves travel. She's dying right now during quarantine and just can't get off that island, like legit island. And we talked about her business goals and what that meant for her. And we kind of painted out the picture, why she wanted to hit it. I learned very quickly it was not about material or monetary or prestige. It was more about building people up. Like, she was a very kind of heart-driven person. So I was able to find out what she values, and then I knew it and I related to it. So I added, gave mentorship and coaching based on where I knew what her heartstrings were. I wasn't going to give her advice and talk about, okay, great. Hey girl, now we're going to go get that Benz. Hey, you really deserve like a Mercedes. You really like, we need to get you like, yeah, oh, it's so great to get in like a really nice big house or blah, blah, blah. She doesn't care about any of that. She doesn't even really care about the title. It was more about the impact she could have. And so we talked about that. And C or 3, ABC, value people, know and relate to what they value. And C, make yourself more valuable. If I want to add value to people, I need to make myself more valuable. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot give what you do not have. And so you must fill your cup before you can, if you fill it up so much, you're just going to be runneth over. You fill up your cup, then you can pour into other people's cups. But if your cup is empty, this is why it is so imperative to make your growth a priority. You got to add value to yourself. People need one reason to follow you. Why do I have people that still follow me years and years and years? And I don't believe that it's because of what I look like or because of who I hang out with. I think they just see me grow. Certainly not my voice. I apologize. You guys have to listen to this voice all the time. God bless you. You have special rewards in heaven for learning from this voice. I'm telling you. Sometimes I listen, I'm like, wow, really squeaky. Okay. But you got to make yourself more valuable. And that's what I hope. I hope that you were with me on episode 100 and 200 and 1,000 or wherever we take this thing, God willing. And that you say, wow, Rachel's gotten so much better and so much more valuable. Oh my God. Guys, this is so good for me. Guys, I'm adding value to people right now through this podcast, all 4 of us that are on this line. I'm just kidding. We just crossed 1,200 downloads. But I'm adding value to you, but you know what it's doing? It's forcing me to be value focused. Every day now, I'm like reading, listening, learning, auditing, coaching, mentoring. Like I want to come to that podcast with some fire. Hello? Now you got to add value to people. Number 3, things that we do every day. Number 1, lead yourself. Number 2, add value to people. Number 3 is to study leadership. Study leaders. And this is not only in books like 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I love the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, the 5 levels of leadership by John C Maxwell. Everything he has is just incredible. You got the books, but you also got to study in the field. Like be doing the work while leading, but also following leaders. What do they do? How do they act? How do they respond? What's their posture? What's their vernacular? What's the verbiage that they use? If you ever go to, and hear like some of my past mentors speak, I did a call on Monday night. You guys heard it. I put it on episode 11. You have to show up. I listened back to that, right? I'm uploading it, like making sure nothing's crazy. I edited out a couple words, with our company. And and I was listening back. I'm like, it's been over 5 years since I worked with that leader. And I sounded just like him. Like, why? Because I studied his leadership. I studied his presenting style. I listened to him all the time. I learned how he used his voice as a tool, as a weapon of motivation. And so I studied his leadership. I also studied what not to do, right? I learned sometimes leaders show you how to be a good leader, and sometimes they show you how not to be a good leader. Mentorship is not always positive. Sometimes it's like learning, I'm not going to be that way. And we see that often with parenting, like I'm not going to be that type of parent, right? And then you make a change. So you study in books and in the field. And number 4, the way you grow every day in your lid and raising your lid, taking it from a 4 to a 5 to a 6, is you practice leadership. It cannot just be you lock yourself in a dorm room, like university, for 2-3 years and you study leadership and then you never apply it. You never lead anybody or anything. You got to put yourself out there. And this is the risk. I'll tell you that in leadership, you're going to skin your knees. You're going to make the wrong choices. You're going to get off course. There has been several times, even in the last 5 years, where I have made a decision, sometimes singly, individually, or as a group with other top leaders. And then we realize that decision, not getting us the results that we want. We have to pivot. Sometimes that requires new systems, new tools, apologies, Or just generic, like, hey, all right, we learned that didn't work so good. Oop, bombed on that campaign. Oop, that challenge was a bust. Oh, yep, that incentive totally missed the mark. But we practice leadership, and that's how you grow, by like, okay, I did it. It worked. It didn't work. I'm auditing, I'm reviewing, and I'm adjusting. And then number 5 is to intentionally grow every day. And this is making yourself more valuable, but growth is also putting yourself in an environment where you're challenged. You know, I love the fact that I am surrounded, I'm in several, one of them being Eric Worre's mastermind, where I have people that are out earning me 3 or 4-fold. And it pushes me in the sense of, I realize I could be doing better. One of my only things I wish I'm about to pay somebody or whatever, like I almost wish somebody would be like, you need to do, like I am often the pace setter. Like, I'm like, okay, so I look to other people, sometimes in other companies, like, okay, you're going to be my pacer. You're challenging me. Other ways to intentionally grow is that you're outside of your comfort zone. And I've talked about this being in your gift zone, but outside of your comfort zone. John C Maxwell said you raise your lid by every day putting yourself in a situation or in opportunities where you gulp. Like, are you waking up excited, fired up, passionate about what you're going to go do today with your organization? But are you also, waking up, tackling a goal, having the vision, knowing the goal, and then you wake up, you gotta like gulp? Are you gulping? Or are you yawning? Or are you coasting? So you gotta get outside your comfort zone if you want to grow. A couple weeks ago, I messaged one of my best friends, Erica, and I was asking her and her husband, they're fitness gurus. I've mentioned them on one of my podcasts earlier. And I said, hey, Erica, I am in a pickle. I work out from home because of COVID. I don't want to go to a gym and wear a mask while I work out. I like oxygen. And so I'm working out at home, and I love my at-home workout. I have it in my basement. It's really nice, private. I love it. Super convenient. Don't have to get in the car. It's great. But I don't have heavy weights. And I don't have like giant resistance machines, and I don't have a lot of room. So I said, what can I do? And then we were talking about strategies of ways to add resistance bands or to do the movement slower, to add more resistance or challenge to these muscle groups. And what she's saying is, you don't grow if it's comfortable. You got to get outside your comfort zone. You got to be challenged, right? Challenge for you to grow. I'm like, yes, okay, I get it. Other ways to grow is, failure is not your enemy. It's your friend. You don't learn when you win. You learn when you lose. It's not the seasons where you're winning and in momentum. You didn't learn anything. Yeah, it was fun. It was great. You rode the wave. But you didn't grow when you were winning. It's in the seasons of pain and trial and failure and mistakes and loss. That is when you grow. That's when you're growing. And in order to intentionally grow, you have to desire change, but you also have to see it modeled, and it must be expected. And I love other leaders that are not stuck in the past, that they want to grow, they want to improve, they see things changing, and I hope I can be a bit of an example of growth for you guys in this podcast and through social media over the coming months and years together in this tribe of soul CEOs. But these are just my tips, and you do them every day to become world class. Every day you lead yourself. Every day you add value to people. Every day you study leadership. Every day you practice it, and every day you intentionally grow by putting yourself in situations that are a little bit of a stretch. You surround yourself with people, like if you're the one that is reading, the only one that's reading, the only one that's podcasting, binging, the only one that's growing and attending events or virtual summits, if you're the only one talking about ideas and not people, I love hanging around with people that don't talk about people. They talk about vision and ideas and dreams and hopes and aspirations. If your 5 friends, if they're just talking about people in the past, and waiting for the stimulus or the government to come and save them, if they're talking about fear and politics and they're not focused on growing and what they can control, I'm telling you guys, you're not in a growth environment. You got to get yourself around people where growth is being modeled. It's expected. It's like catch up. That's what I want to create for my team. I told my leaders the last few weeks that, listen, I'm running all out. I've said it here on this podcast. I'll say it over and over to the team. 2021, I grew a little bit. Yeah. Our business grew maybe double digits last year. My income grew double digits, but I know it's not good enough. I'm not the person I want to be. I'm not the person God has called me to be yet. There's still so much work to do. And I hope then pray that by me leaning into it, that you also give yourself the permission to lean into the growth. So guys, go check out that book. I did a very piss poor job explaining it, I'm sure. But maybe there was something helpful. And if it was, guys, share this to your team. Get some assessments, see how you are, assess yourself, commit to grow, and to commit to grow others. Tap that 5 stars, leave a review. I love reading them, man. They're just so lovely. I appreciate it. And screenshot this right now. Screenshot it and tag me on Instagram @SoulCEO. Let me know what you think. God bless, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.